Well, hey everybody, Andy Cavernan here with another Cornerstone Connection Daily Devotional. I wonder if any of you are like me and you suffer from an illness that's prevalent, I think, in our society. I suffer from this illness. It's called obligation anxiety. I can feel so obligated to so many things so quickly, and it can cause me anxiety in ways that aren't a lot of fun sometimes. I have some obligation anxiety. I remember one time as a worship pastor years ago, I was preparing for a worship service, and we invited a guest worship leader to come to town. And he was a friend of mine. He had been a part of our church. We invited him back, and I kept asking him for a set list, the songs that he was going to use on that Sunday morning. And I kept asking him, I kept texting him, calling him, whatever, and I kept getting an answer like, hey, I'll get it to you soon. And sure enough, we got to that Sunday morning, and I still didn't have the set list, and I had a band that had to play with this guy, who, again, is a good friend of mine. And we got there Sunday morning. He hands me his set list finally, and we pulled together some music. And he's a gifted enough worship leader where it all worked out, and the band did a great job. And we were able to play with him and had a great morning. But downstairs in our choir room at the time, I was talking with him, and I said, man, I have this thing, and I suppose I didn't call it that at the time, but I said I have obligation anxiety. I want to make sure everything's put together, kind of type A. And he looked at me, and I'll never forget it. He said, Andy, I'm type F. And I thought, what does that mean? And he said, well, Andy, I'm fun, I'm free, and I'm forgiven. And I thought, man, that's a great way to live. Now, it's not the way I can live all the time. I'm definitely not type F in that I'm just fun and fancy-free in every aspect of life. And yet, I learned watching my friend that, it's possible to just relax sometimes and enjoy God's goodness. And I read a passage here recently from John chapter 1 that encouraged me, and I think may encourage you as well. Sometimes when we think about our relationship with God, we can get some obligation anxiety. And certainly there are so many imperatives in Scripture that call us to the kind of righteous living that's befitting of a king like Jesus. And yet, the awesome thing about Jesus is that he knows the standard that he's set will never fully live up to this side of heaven. And so what he does is he extends himself towards us. He gives himself to us that he can set the standard, that he can be the standard for us. And I come to this passage in John chapter 1, this glorious theological exposition of the glory of Jesus. In the beginning was the Word was God, the Word was with God. This unpacking of the character and the personhood of Jesus Christ. But then we get to this in verse 16 of John chapter 1. It says this, and from his fullness, from the fullness of Jesus, remember, John's just described Jesus in these grand terms. And from his fullness, we have all received grace upon grace. And I've meditated on that phrase for many years now, perhaps. Grace upon grace. For from his fullness, we have all received grace upon grace. And why does John use that language? Well, I think he uses it to just emphasize this fact that the grace that we know in Jesus is grace upon grace. It's not a one-time grace. It's not a grace that we somehow earn or deserve. No, it's lavished on us, grace upon grace. And we have grace from the fullness of Jesus himself. Jesus means to extend grace to us. And so I stand before a holy God, a righteous God, not because I've met all the obligations that I think are required of me. Now, it doesn't mean that I don't want to act righteously because I love him, but I don't earn my position with God by meeting the obligations. I have position with God because of the grace that has been lavished on me. Therefore, I am set free from obligation anxiety when it comes to my relationship with God. And instead, I'm free to live freely and fully and even with fun in relationship with the Lord. Fun, free, forgiven. Man, what a way to live. May you be set free from obligation anxiety today and instead respond to God out of that grace upon grace that he has lavished on you. God bless.